All right, all right. Good evening, viewers. I hope you are fine wherever you are, and welcome again to another interesting show here on Africa 24. Today and tonight, rather, it's morning wherever you are in Kenya. We want to discuss the shaking Kenya Kwanza to it. Gachagua shaking Kenya Kwanza to its core. With me is my guest Leo, a political analyst and a commentator. Leo, karibu sana to the show, and let's get straight to over what happened this weekend. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Mzalendo. Of course, I do appreciate and thank you for having this wonderful show. Of course, in this side of the Eastern Africa, it's still morning. It's a wonderful Sunday morning. And I know, as you preempted, a lot has happened in the country, despite the several holidays that we've had from the Madaraka Day, where I saw people colorfully celebrated our independence. And I'm glad that this government enabled people like you who've never seen this kind of celebrations, because the celebration was just done some few meters away from your home in Homa Bay. So I hope you did take an opportunity to thank the government of President William Ruto for giving the people of Homa Bay an opportunity to witness and benefit from this kind of celebrations. I'm told a lot of money was deposited in Homa Bay, and the banks and the businessmen and women there had everything that they had to celebrate. And apart from that, the infrastructural appearance of your Homa Bay County has really changed. And for you who've taken maybe a year without going back home, when you go home, maybe you might need some Google map and maybe somebody to walk you around. I hope the same is going to happen in my county, Siaya. I'm glad I saw my governor finally. People say he bowed to pressure, but finally he came back to his senses and realized the relationship that is there between the national and the county government. So I'm waiting to see the things I saw happening in Homa Bay also being reciprocated back in my county, Siaya. And to what happened in Mombasa, I think that is just politics that have started early, and time is not yet. As somebody who played football in Eastlands, Mzalendo, you people used to call some teams Moto ya Karatasi. So there's that fire that starts, but it doesn't last long. So let me hope so. Thank you so much. And to
All
our
right,
viewers, once
all
again,
right.
welcome.
I like that job where you are giving me a job and knowing my diary that I've not gone to Kenya for 2 years. I don't know how long, but again, it is a good opportunity for the people of Homa Bay to witness the first Madaraka Day that was celebrated, courtesy of the government and, of course, the organization by the PS, Raymond Molo and his team, plus the governor of Homa Bay. That was a good show of solidarity of people working together. This is something that we, the people of Homa Bay, have yearned for, leaders working together and not politicking all the time, because that is what brings development in the region. But development is when a president is elected, and that is why we go for election, Mr. Leo. The president will not choose where to take his development. It is upon the president to bring development to the people who did not vote for him and the people who voted for him. The president is the president for all. Once you are elected, then you should not be enticed. For Orengo to throw in the towel, it means that he had to swallow some of his principles, and those are the principles of democracy. If we encourage leaders to be giving us goodies so that we follow them, I think that is not a good trend. But anyway, let's get into what brought us here today. And yes, over the weekend, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua took his war to the coast. He accused President Ruto of being the most tribal president in the history of Kenya. Leo, why now? Why at the coast? What is Rigathi trying to achieve? And remember, It was with one other than Kalonzo Musyoka, the Wiper leader, who has got a very good influence in Mombasa. Is this a sign of things to come, or is a sign of desperation?
Thank you, Mzalendo. I think in that response, I've been aligned to a political side that has always believed in numbers, but finally, I've come to realize that these numbers that you normally see on the streets never turns out into votes. Actually, for the longest, I've supported a political side that has always been celebrating the numbers we see on the streets and rallies and imagining how these numbers are going to be translated into the votes on the voting day, only to wake up and find that that one doesn't happen and start crying that you see the elections have been stolen, we've been rigged out. And you'll find that most of these complaints, we've always based them on the numbers that we are seeing on the streets, and we feel that these numbers ought to have counted. So from that experience, I'm not going to be maybe surprised to see even Peter Salasia attracting a larger crowd, because we've been seeing comedians. You know, Kenya, apart from having high unemployment rate.
Don't spoil my show this morning with comparisons like Salasia. We are here on a serious show to give Kenya's people the right direction. But I
Okay,
think that was
okay, that
just
was
a
just
sense of
a
humor.
comparison,
Yeah,
because
I
if
hope it was just a
you're the one
sense
who's
of
telling me
humor.
that you saw the deputy president receiving some welcoming reception in the coast, and I don't know why you forgot also tell us that Peter Salesi also received the same, but you didn't talk much of him. So those are just numbers on the street. You know, people are so idle. Majorly, actually, unemployment is a problem in our country. So if today you call a rally, everybody will have to come. There's some people who are coming specifically because they think during these rallies you're going to give some gifts or such kind of things. And there are people who also want to see who is this deputy president who was impeached. I remember when I was young in the year 2006 when Kibaki visited Siaya. I was among the people who lined up from morning 6 in the morning only to see Kibaki arrive at 2 p.m. So we are not doing that one for the love, because by that time you know the bitterness that was there between the people of Nyanza and Kibaki. So that one happens. And on the remarks on tribalism, I think Gachagua is not being sincere. He's just trying to counter the reasons that why he was impeached. He was impeached as one of the most tribalists and such kind of things. If you want to say that William Ruto is a tribalist, I'm not saying that there's no tribalism in this country, but at least William Ruto is trying to fix that. If you look at his appointments in Zalendo, you'll agree with me that most of these appointments try to look into that situation whereby we don't have some other communities or some other tribes represented. But again, when it comes to this appointment, we always have to do this thing in response to the population. For example, in a room whereby we are having 100 Kikuyus and only 3 Masais, if you are giving positions, obviously the 3 Masais will not get equal number compared to 100 Kikuyus. So there is a ratio that also has to be balanced. So sometimes you need to be factual and realistic and realize that some of these things are just mere political campaigns. But I'm glad Kenyans are now wise enough to make decisions not based on the cliches and the words that people say on the political campaign trails, but they'll have to maybe engage their minds and see. If you're telling me that William Ruto is a tribalist, but I can be able to see people from different communities in his cabinet, I can be able to see this kind of appointment, people from different ages, actually, people like Fikirini, people who are below 35 years becoming cabinet secretaries. If you're telling me that William Ruto has done nothing, but when I go to Kisumu, I go to Homa Bay, I go to Kikuyu, I'm able to see the affordable houses that is at 80% done. I'm able to see Talanta Sports Center almost getting completed. I'm able to see the teachers being employed by the Teacher Service Commission. Then I don't need to listen to your lies. I'll have to cast my vote based on things that I can be able to visualize rather than things that I'm able to hear. So that is just mere politics that is going to be dealt with maybe moving forward. It's not a time for campaign, but I'm
Oh,
sure when
all
the right
right.
time will come, William will come and will not tell you what he's going to do.
Can
He will
you
tell you what he's like.
can you please, Leo, tell me why majority of the positions in in the civil service is either held by the Kalenjin community or the Kikuyu community. Why is that? That's a simple question. Mr.
I
Leo,
didn't get you. I didn't get you well. So can you
I
just
am
maybe?
I'm asking you in Kenya today, a majority of the position in the civil service is either held by two communities, the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu community. Why is it so?
I get you. Majority of the positions are held by the two communities. Number one, I'm not in support of that, but what we need to, we don't need to create an impression that these two communities are the ones that are holding majority of positions. So when you're looking at it, you also look at it critically in that what is the total population of these communities. You cannot tell me that we're going to have equal number of Maasai police officers to the number of Kalenjin or
So
Kikuyu police
Gachagua
officers,
was
because if
all along
some of
right
them
with
are
the issue of
justified,
shares, yeah.
some of them are justified, but what happens is that now people look at the bigger positions. People look at the bigger positions and say, no, I don't think we should have a problem with having 10,000 Kikuyu police officers who are qualified and competent, and like forcing to have maybe police officers who are not qualified simply because they represent specific communities. If we get out of that notion and try employing people or based on their competency, then I think we can have some neutral discussion. We want a situation whereby if the Teacher Service Commission is recruiting teachers, they don't limit the recruitment that, okay, we want 5 Maasai teachers, we want 10 Luo teachers and 20. They should say that in this recruitment, we want competent teachers rather than looking at their tribes and their communities. I think that is when we'll be talking as a country that we've made some steps ahead. But when we still look at the people who've been employed as Kikuyus and as Masais, then that is where we go wrong. Look at, for example, William Ruto's cabinet to create a perspective of a universal, maybe a cabinet. He went and got people like Kabogo just to represent the Kikuyu community. But if you look at the competency of the people like Kabogo, there are people whose competency is questionable. So we should start engaging that. We should not look at him as a Kikuyu, but we should look at Kabogo as an individual. What is Kabogo bringing in the table? That is
Can
why
I
you see people
can I
getting bitter. People
you
like,
ask
yes, people
can
like
I
Aisha
interject a
Guma were
bit
there,
because
bringing nothing.
I think you brought a very important point. The only point that you are forgetting is that these politicians, they all employ people according to loyalty. Loyalty is the reason why Kabogo is in the cabinet. Loyalty is the reason why some of these faces you see as balanced. It is not on merit, but it is on how loyal are you going to be to the president of the day. I think when you look at merit, there are very few people in the cabinet today who qualify to be in those particular positions. So it is about loyalty and patronage. That is what dictates our politics. So we don't, even when you see a balanced kind of cabinet with all the tribes, it is just loyalty, but it is not on merit. It doesn't mean that these other Kikuyus were not qualified. Kabogo is political, so he's looking at the political wing of the Kikuyu community to bring them so that he can get something from Kiambu. So it's not really about service to the people, but how I can stay in power longer. So you need to learn to differentiate all that, even as we analyze tribalism. So having said that, I hope that our viewers at home, you have subscribed to Leo TV and Afrique 24 that brings you these live discussions every other day. And today we are looking at Rigathi storming coastal region. Leo says that it's just a crowd, and and when it is a crowd on their side, he says that it is okay, that will translate into votes. But when he sees it on the opposite side, no, 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 those are mere crowds.
No, no, Mzalendo, don't misquote me. I said initially I used to believe that this crowd translates into votes, and that one has never happened. It disappointed me in 2013, disappointed me in 2017, and disappointed me in 2022. So 2027, I don't want to be disappointed. They say only a fool doesn't learn from their mistakes, and insanity is defined as doing the same thing the same way, expecting different results. So we are not going to be engaging in the crowd, maybe manifestation and such kind of things, and hope that we are going to take power through that. We've learned through experience and past events how power is being taken. And 2027 is not going to be different from 2007. You had the tribalist Rigathi Gachagua trying to compare the two. He was right. The only thing that he forgot, that the only thing that is not going to repeat itself is the violent part that was experienced in 2007, because people have gone past that. People have realized that in politics, we don't need to fight as people share and get position. So what is going to happen
Yeah,
is,
yeah. For us, yeah.
I can tell you, you can remember Kibaki was overwhelmingly elected in 2002. He gave free primary education and all those kind of things. Then later on, when we had the alliance that defeated the proposed constitution in 2005, Kibaki lost touch with the citizens and the voters, and he was among the most hated president, and everything indicated that he was going to lose the 2007 elections. And in fact, experts still say up to date that he lost by over 1 million votes. So, and at the end of the day, he still managed to retire as a president. And those are precedents that was set, and the presidents once set it is there. And I can tell you, the problem of the mistake we do is trying to compare Kenya with the West African countries. That is the mistake that we do. Kenya is different from the West African countries, and anybody who is dreaming that we are going to have a president who is just going to serve a first term and leave it like that, that is a dream far-fetched. We are still far from there. And what we need to thank the drafters of the 2010 constitution is inserting the term limit. So that is the only help that they gave Kenyans to do away with bad leadership or bad
So,
regimes. So the only point we can lie on to remove bad regime is the the term limit. Anything past that term limit, and I can tell you, if Uhuru was not retiring, Ruto will not have outsmarted him. Ruto will not have outsmarted Uhuru in 2017. He did it in 2022 because Uhuru had nothing to lose. Uhuru was trying to help his brother Raila, but he was not fully helping Raila. He was trying to appear to be helping Raila. It was something that was situational. It was forced. It was not out of his heart that he was helping Raila. He was helping Raila in that he did not like Ruto, and at the same time, he did not like Raila. So he was just doing it for the sake of doing it. But I'm sure if the person who was contesting against Ruto was really in the heart of Uhuru Kenyatta, then that person would have won the elections. If it was Matiang'i, Matiang'i would have been president. But he just did it for the sake.
uh, I like your analysis, and sometimes I think you are off the rails a bit because of trying to tell us, that I know what was in Uru's heart. That one you cannot know, my friend. So it is your assumption. So we don't want to deal with assumptions here. We want to deal with factuals. We want to deal with facts. When you lose elections, you've lost election. You lost elections because you are a disorganized side. You lost elections because you are not prepared to winning. That is the reason why you lost election. And I'm seeing the trend. The only good part is that the way I see politics happening right now is that maybe you will learn something from William Ruto because he is used to winning. But having said that, Leo, for the sake of this conversation, um, and I want you to give me an honest opinion about what you feel on the ground, the Asla. You remember Ruto was elected by this so-called Asla. What is your definition of an Asla?
All right. If you look at maybe the definition of hustler, it also depends with maybe the geographical, or maybe let me talk of the economical environment. So hustlers got some wider definition based on the context that you put it. So if you look at the economical environment, these are people who are lowly in the community. Actually, they're people who live below maybe at the minimum amount that is set, the set standard by the economic maybe perspectives. And most of these people, they will always support anything as long as there is something that some income that they're going to get it. For example, people will give them food and such. Today, if you want to vie for any political position, the first thing that people will ask you, have you enough money to sustain the campaign? So the Kenyan politics has been so commercialized that when you want to vie for any position, the first thing that comes from your mind is money. Today, if you are a thief or a thug, but you have money, people will forget the values, or people will forget your characters, but they'll call you all those good names because you're able to give them some money. I want to give you some case study. If you go to this place called Nyakach, there this young boy called Angoda or something like that. He's
Anguda,
somebody.
Anguda,
Yeah.
Anguda
So if
Kuja.
you go to the village, even the old women will be talking of Angoda. But Angoda is somebody, you even give him a microphone to tell you why he wants to become an MP there. He can't tell you anything apart
Uh,
from maybe waving the whisk and such kind of
it
things.
is like you have taken the side. Let me
I'm not
defend
taking
my
sides.
friend. Let me
Okay.
defend. Let
Uh,
me
uh,
defend my friend
let
Anguda
me
Kuja.
put a disclaimer. Let me put a disclaimer. First of all,
No,
let me put a
Anguda
disclaimer.
Kuja. What do you mean? There is nobody
I want to
in
give.
that particular race who has done the things that Anguda Kuja
So
have
listen.
done.
So
So
we
stop
value
lying, my friend.
Angola based on his monetary ability.
No,
But if somebody like this presenter,
who?
how do you call him? There's this presenter, the
The citizen
Royal Media
presenter for
presenter and
Ramogi
Citizen. Yeah?
is
How do you
called
call
who?
him?
Um,
There's this
who-
Royal Media and Ramogi presenter. When he comes, he can really outline his vision, and you understand this is a person who understands the role of an MP, the three major roles: legislation, representative, and oversight. But because he doesn't have something to give you, Angola is likely to win the elections. So that is the problem that we have. So you talk. Let me get back to the
let
conversation. You
me
asked me about the hustlers.
on a free and a fair debate.
Yeah.
Anguda Kuja's election is one that he has got the charisma of a politician. And let me tell you, that one also just knocks out all the politicians that are racing with him. When you give Anguda Kuja the microphone, he will articulate what he is local. You understand? He is local, and every politics is local. You cannot be polished in politics in Nyakach, where you are talking to my grandmother. At the same time, he presents an elitist kind of politics, and you've just said it that politics in Nyanza is about money, and he comes with the money, shows you the development that he can do when he's not elected. So for the people of Nyakach, I looked at the only problem I have with people like Anguda Kuja is that people cannot define their source of income, where they get the kind of money. That is what we should question, their integrity level when they are being elected. But your party, ODM, I will definitely give him a ticket because first he is loyal. He is loyal to the throne, and that is what is most important. And so long as you got the ODM ticket, you are home and dry. The bank can come looking for you. I hope I'm absolutely right about that.
No, I always find it unfair when you have to give some negative references and you give it with my party ODM. But these things happen in any political party. These political parties are vehicles. Actually, people use them for vehicles for winning elections of late. So if you have a political party, you need somebody. Number one, your former senator Otieno Kajwang used to say there is fidelity loyalty and faithfulness. It counts everywhere. You cannot have somebody in your party who doesn't believe in the aspirations of that party. This is somebody who cannot stand for the party, because it is a matter of fact that people love these political parties and believe in these political parties more than they believe in individuals. And I want to tell you that if these individuals were more popular, then they will be seeking elections as independent candidates. And of course, our constitution allows that. And why do they shy away from contesting? You as Mzalendo, as an individual candidate, you have to go and look for a political party, because people have got trust in these political parties. It takes time, it takes years, it takes money and loyal members to build a political vehicle like my political party ODM. So when you are giving your ticket, you don't give tickets to people who don't believe in it. You saw what happened to UD, and I like the way they treated the case of a robber. You cannot be loyal, you cannot be nominated. Actually, you are a liability. Nobody elected you. You're elected by, nominated by a political party, then you go against the aspirations. You cannot go and start giving support to somebody who declared that they are going to host and stand against your political party, then still expect to enjoy the benefit of that party. So you choose. You cannot say that you're married to somebody, then you're still eyeing and supporting somebody who is maybe the opposite. What they did is what ODM has failed to do several years. ODM has always behaved so lenient to the the saboteurs and the rebels. You saw what happened. People like Mwaura had their salaries as nominated senators until the last minute, despite the fact that they joined other political parties, and ODM did nothing to reprimand them. So I can say that even currently the political parties are getting mature, and we can only have mature political parties if actions that were taken to people like Oroba are done across these political parties. If you find that somebody is not for the aspirations and maybe the visions of your political party, then these people should step aside and join the parties of their interest. And if you want to speak independently, then you need to contest as an independent candidate so that you can give your own independent solutions and independent views. And that is why sometimes I normally catch some wars with my secretary Edwin Sifuna, because when he's speaking for ODM, he needs to put a disclaimer that I'm speaking as Edwin Sifuna, and also put a disclaimer whenever he's speaking for ODM party. You cannot represent a specific party and give your personal views which are different from the party you're representing. Yes, you have got the right of your opinion, but when you're giving the right your own opinion, you have to separate and tell people that I'm now speaking as Sifuna, I'm not speaking as ODM, so that you don't bring in confusion. So
All right,
that is what is happening in this political party.
Leo, let me just correct you, because I think you are misguiding your fans, the people who love listening to you, and the reason why you are misguiding them is only one. And when Sifuna begins his conversations like this, I am Sifuna. You all know me. I am the Secretary Party General for ODM, and I am the Senator for Nairobi. And as I speak here, I speak for my party, ODM, and my party leader, Raila Odinga. For you to say that Sifuna speaks for himself, Raila, your party leader said that Sifuna speaks for the party. So who are you to tell us that Sifuna doesn't speak for the party? I don't know what you're saying. Can you have some more clarity in that? Are you refuting that Raila?
No, I'm saying
Are
he
you
speaks for
trying
the
to say that
party.
Raila didn't know what he was talking
Listen,
about?
I'm saying he speaks for the party. He is
Yeah.
actually the mouthpiece for the party. But most of the time of late, he was contradicting the position of the party, which is allowed.
Which
You have
which which your
no,
party
it's
leader
allowed actually.
agreed.
No, listen, it's allowed. You can contradict. You can have a different stand with your party, and for the party to have a stand, it means there was some convened meeting and the majority had their way. So you have a minority voice. So when you're now going to express your minority voice, you should express it out of the confines of the party, whereby I start by telling you, I'm the Secretary General of ODM, but what I'm going to say here is an individual observation. As Sifuna, as an individual, I think that President William Ruto deserves one term. But as my party, we agree, and majority think that he deserves another term. So it is so simple.
No,
You don't need to
I think
create some mix
when
up whereby people start saying, so what are you going to say?
when it comes to casting your vote as an individual, then I think you need to have an independent thought on where you are going to cast your vote. You also need to have an independent thought of who you think will deliver the aspiration of your people as the senator of Nairobi. This awesome kind of thinking that you want me to think like a legislator from Siaya is what Sifuna is against, and most Kenyan people are against. That we don't want to be remotely controlled, to think that this is the party position. After all, you are not a party official. You need to be given an opportunity to exercise your thought, and especially when it comes to choosing the right leader. You don't have to go by what your party leader or what your party is dictating. You look at the leader who is going to provide for you the kind of services that you want, and whose policies align by what you believe is correct. So I think Supuna has been speaking, yes, from his point of view, but majorly from what the party stands for. So and you know what your political movement stands for. I need not to remind you that ODM stands for what? Can you remind me? Social democracy. Yeah, ODM stands for social democracy. It is pro the constitution. That is what it stands for. So when Osifuna speaks with authority, he knows that his party stands for the constitution and the rule of law. So if the president has broken the law, then Sifuna will come out and say, your government is abducting youths. There's a lot of killings in the government. There's something that needs to be done. That is the constitution, and that is what the president ought to respect and obey. So there is nothing that is going off. He's just following what the constitution of the Republic of Kenya says. Do you have anything?
I get you, but or sometimes we've been into this kind of. I know that the party stands for social, and nowadays we need also to shift and work
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. You need to shift because whatever you stood for yesterday, it is not what
you can't stand for the
what
same
you
thing,
stand for today.
and that is the kind of the movement that you see currently, that most of people believe that we need to get out of this kind of standing for the social justice, and we are people who just oppose everything, because these are some of the things that we've done for decades, but now our people, they need food on the table. Just taking people to the streets each and every time and say, we don't want this, we don't want this, we are fighting for rights. It reaches a time whereby these rights cannot feed our people. So we need to try to think differently, and put our people in a position whereby they'll be able to empower themselves economically. We don't want, some of us, we were born in this rebellious kind of politics, and we grew up knowing that our role is to oppose everything that government proposes. Our role is to check on the government and put our noses and ears everywhere the government is, and
Leo,
identify things that doesn't
can I
affect us.
remind you? Can I remind you of something? You're bringing a very nice point.
So we need to change.
You remember in 2022
Yeah.
when I was supporting William Ruto,
Yes.
and I was really telling you to join our side, and this side is going to form sort of.
It's funny that you're really
Uh,
telling me to join your side, but the moment
and
we joined your side,
no, no, no,
we
no,
ran away.
no, no,
Your side.
no.
So the problem is you
Before
didn't want to have us in the
I
same
was
side.
not really. It's not really. It is because William Ruto at some point veered off from what we Aslas, the people who voted for him, believed in that he's going to implement. And it's not because ODM joined government. After all, listen, whatever that has happened between William Ruto and Gachagua, or William Ruto and Raila Odinga, is sad for democracy in our Kenya, in our country, Kenya. It is very, very sad. But if you're looking at it from a greedy point of view, and sometimes I call it from a scavenger's
I think
point
you
of
need to drop the word greedy point of view. A
no, from
democracy
a
is a rule
scavenger's.
by
No,
majority.
let me use a
And
better word.
democracy does
Let me
not
use
stop you from
let me
changing
use a
your
better
mind, and
word.
changing the cause is not a threat for democracy. If today we went for elections and 5 people elected you and 2 opposed you, if these 2 decided now to support you, it means you'll have a 7 out of 7. That one does not mean it's a threat to democracy. It is a change of view. There is
No,
something good in you that made these people who did not
you
believe in
see,
you to join
for
you. So the fact that those people
there
who
is
opposed William joined William, that one
mm-mm.
means democracy is maturing and people are now accepting that what majority wanted was good. So now why can't we join majority? You cannot remain in minority if the minority side is not making any relevance. You cannot keep on opposing if you don't find relevance in opposing. You have to join that thing that you're opposing if it gets relevant. That doesn't mean it's a threat to democracy. Democracy doesn't mean that there must be opposers and proposers. Democracy can also work when everybody is supporting or when everybody is opposing. That is still democracy. So you have to ensure that democracy is something that is wider, and you don't just define it maybe to please or massage your ego, Mzalendo. We have to agree on that. So calling it a greedy part of side of view,
No,
I think that is being able.
let me withdraw my word greedy
Yeah,
and you
actually, actually.
and try to use a more polite word like probably. What would be the best word to define people who have definitely absconded their role that Kenyans wanted them to play? How do you refer to a political party that has joined government from the back door? And how do you refer to a political movement that
I'll give you a name. To give you a
give
name,
me a name?
let me walk you through the independence election in 1963. After Kenu had formed the government, something strange happened. Kadu joined Kanu. Why did they do so? In the interest of the nation. They realized that by the time they were going for the elections, they had some differences. But after these elections, they found that what united them versus what divided them was minimal. So they had to join hands together. And you are alive by the fact that the kind of constitution that we have, actually, we are having a constitution that is similar to the one that you people have in the United States of America. And we are having a national assembly, we are having executive and judiciary. So the National Assembly has got a specific role, irrespective of the political party. We don't have a specific political party to be oversighting the government. It is the role of all the members of parliament to oversight the government, whether you elected on UDA, ODM, independent, or else. So having this perception that those people who are elected on Azimio are the ones who are supposed to oversight the executive, I think that is misleading, and it shows some lack of understanding of our constitution. A parliament has got equal rights, they have got equal position, and they also have got some similar role. Their role is to legislate, oversight, and to represent. So the same way your member of parliament Ben Suda is representing the people of Homa Bay, is the same way Kimani Ichung'wah is representing the people of Kiambu. So it would be wrong to believe that the role of an MP from Kisumu is to oppose and oversight the government, while the role of an MP from Kikuyu or Kiambu is to support the government. I think that is what is misleading. That is what we used to have in the previous constitution, whereby we were having opposition and government. Currently, in the parliament, of course, we are having the majority and minority. The majority and minority is found on the basis of we are having the majority when we are having debates. The people whose will take whose maybe their decision will be taken because of the numbers, and the minority, the people whose voices will also have to count. So it doesn't mean the majority leader should be pro-government and the minority leader should be against the government. I think you need to explain to your viewers, and you also need to explain to Kenyans that we are having a very complicated system of government whereby we don't need to call people opposition. I hear people like Kalonzo roaming the markets and streets calling themselves the loyal opposition. We don't have opposition. If they should call themselves minority. to say that, you know, these other political parties are majority, they agree on what the president is doing, but with us, because we don't agree, we are minority, not opposition. It's illegal to use that term opposition unless the bipartisan report is implemented to create office for the opposition leader or something like that, which is also going to disintegrate and interfere with our constitution, because in our constitution we don't have such kind of provisions that allows things like opposition. And I think that is one of the challenge that is there in that bipartisan recommendation of creating the office for the opposition. So what are you going to oppose? And we are having a system of governance whereby each and every arm of government is independent and has got specified roles. So Junet is performing the same roles as Kimani Chungo and other people who are in the majority. So we don't need to say that, you see, these people left their role of opposition and joined. So the only people that changed their arms are those ones who stopped being legislators like Mbadi and became cabinet secretaries. So they left the legislation role and took the executive implementation role. But these other members, they still serve the same purpose that they used to serve before. If you follow the parliamentary proceedings, sometimes they agree, sometimes they disagree. So this is something that we need to put clear so that we avoid this confusion. And this confusion is just peddled by one side, the Wamunyoro side, the side you are supporting.
I don't support Wamonyoro side. I support the Kenyan people, and I support any good side that is giving. I support Ruto when he's implementing the housing project, because that is something that is long overdue. I support good governance. I don't follow leaders. That is the problem. And somebody like you follows leaders, and you are misguiding your audience by saying that, we don't have an official opposition leader, or we don't have a majority leader in parliament. We have a majority and a minority leader in parliament. Go and read Article 108 of the Kenyan Constitution, what it provides, and the role of the minority in parliament. At the same time, you contradict yourself, and you've been doing it many, many years, that when MPs like Jalango defected to the other side of the government, what did you call them? Moles. You call them moles, but
No,
yet
we need to differentiate
you need to
political sentiments and now the
what
factual
are
discussions.
political
And
sentiments?
what you're telling me is when you talk of the opposition is more political, because Kenya is having a presidential system of government with the legislature. Actually, we are not a parliamentary system of government. So if we were having a parliamentary system of government that we had before, then we will be talking of having the opposition and such kind of things. But currently, we are having a presidential system with two houses. So when people like Jalango did what they did, it was they were actually ridiculed based on the loyalty and the party politics. Because when you are having a political party, the parties have got structures, and until the parties make a resolution of the kind you saw happening when they signed on broad daylight at KICC that we are now having a working partnership with this party. So what they did was premature, because immediately we concluded the 2022 elections, then all of a sudden you are jumping the ship and saying that now I'm going to work with that side. Remember, these are the people that we were competing with. So before that all happens, you need to sit down as a political party and say that, okay, we competed these people. These were our differences. These were our similarities. So can we merge them together? Then we now come up with a working plan. And that is what is happening right now. So right now they are within the parameters and within the law to have a working partnership in that. When you want to implement something, because we have the majority and the minority, can we share the same aspiration so that when we go to the floor of the house, we'll be able to support your idea? But we don't want to create a notion whereby we are having a parliament that you are in opposition, you have to oppose anything, even the ones that are going to benefit your people. That is what we saw in the last year's finance bill, which actually got aborted and brought a lot of chaos, is because of some stupid or misunderstanding whereby an MP, because I'm in Azimio, I had to oppose all. If you look at the provisions of that financial act, there are some that were good, that if they had been given an opportunity to implement, would have revolutionized the lives of our people. But because we had that notion that we're in opposition, we just have to pause everything. Then the civil societies and these commercial activists also got into it, and it became messy, and we almost went to that direction. We thank God we did not reach that direction, and we are not getting there soon. So we need to have members of parliament who can be able to engage
All
on
right,
things and make
on
the
that,
right decision. It was so
yeah.
simple for these MPs to sit down and say, what do we agree on, and what don't we agree on? Why can't we shoot down these provisions and proceed with these other ones? But because they had back in their mind that we are opposition, kazi yetu ni kupinga. So that is a bad mindset that needs to
I
be
think
removed.
the only sad part about that is that you've only realized that when you joined the government. You didn't. You've only realized that when you joined the government, and that is the mediocrity of your argument. You only realize that when you joined government. A few years back, you would not say the same thing. In
And
2020,
I have to agree that I
in 20,
also
in 20,
I'm also a victim of that
oh,
kind
you
of
are also a
behavior.
victim of
But
mediocrity. But
change is
anyway,
inevitable. Moving forward, we don't want to get back there. We don't want to
no,
make that. Like what I tell you,
I think where and this is so important in a presidential system where we have a minority who are supposed or members of parliament who are supposed to check the executive. They need to perform their roles. Then we have a government that almost everybody is now in government. So who is going to be the voice of the people? Who is going to check a rogue government if every other MP is working with William Ruto? Those are the most important questions that you need to ask yourself. Apart from the excitement of being in government, then who is this who is going to check the government of the day? So those are important questions. If minority is supporting the majority in parliament in each and every debate, then who is giving us the alternative view in parliament? We
no
elected
minority will
members.
support the
Listen,
majority
members of parliament are
when what
elected to
has
check
been
the
brought is
executive.
for the benefit. But if what has been brought is not benefiting anyone, then they'll have to oppose it.
Yeah,
And that is how we come up with a minority and
I want
majority.
to give you an example of. Tell me how many of your MPs have criticized Ruto as a government in parliament since they joined the. Apart from Sifuna, how many have criticized the government? And even Sifuna's
No,
critics,
before I tell you
you are
that,
busy.
Mzalendo,
You are busy saying that Sifuna
you
is not
don't just
going to the
criticize
line
the
of support.
government for the sake of
Not
criticizing. Most of the,
criticizing for the sake.
listen,
Listen,
listen. Most
listen.
of the people who criticize the government, they do it for to gain some fame. They do it for political mileage, and that is why after doing it, they share it so that people can see I criticize the
Boss,
government. You need what
listen.
is called positive
When
criticism. If
Leo,
you say that the housing
when the price of commodities are up, when the price of commodities are up, I expect my member of parliament to raise questions about taxation. I don't expect him to just toe the line because we are now in government. Please be realistic.
listen, when the price of commodities are up, your member of parliament should not criticize the government. Your member of parliament should do due diligence to know why are the prices up and what are some of the things that should be done to ensure the prices are
That
low.
is that,
If
that
the
is
prices are
that
up
is
because the harvest was low, because people did not get fertilizers, the rain was enough, we need to do some irrigation.
so.
So that is what we call
So
positive criticism. We
what
come
you are
up with
representing
possible
is that
solutions.
you are
You don't go on a
representing the
funeral and
government
start
point of
saying, you
view.
see, bei ya maziwa imepanda, bei ya maziwa imepanda. Why can't you
Ndio
sit down
maana
and see bei
ndio
ya maziwa
maana
imepanda kwa sababu bei ya
wewe
chakula imepanda,
that
wacha
is
tu
the
reduce
reason
bei ya chakula. That is
that's
what
why you that
entices you people than listening to what no, you don't just criticize
Leo,
for the sake of gaining
that is
political
why
mileage.
the ministers are called in the Senate. All right? They are
And has
called
your
in the
MP
Senate
called a minister? I
to answer
see these bad
questions.
people.
To answer
But
questions.
listen, but when you elect people who cannot even maybe come up with questions, some relevant and realistic questions to pin these ministers, what do you expect? You
No,
elect comedians like Jalango,
you
you
all right.
elect comedians like PK Salasia, You elect idiots like the other one. How do I'm forgetting the name? There's this one here. So these are people who cannot even frame specific questions, objective questions to pin the cabinet secretaries. They'll go there and start asking the cabinet secretaries some things that are so irrelevant that is not going to bring a solution. So we need to change and
you
tell our
know,
people that we don't elect people
for
based on the money that they gave us. We don't elect members of parliament to build schools and to pay school fees for our kids. We elect members of parliament to come up with the laws that are going to ensure that our kids will go to school without paying school fee, to ensure that the money that is being released from the national government is managed well. MPs are legislators. They don't implement the policies. Implementing by allowing the MP to build a road or build a classroom or build a market is giving them the executive role of implementing. We need to separate that. That is why I see most of people saying that I'll elect this MP because I'm a managed CDF Missouri. Who told them it is the role of MPs to manage CDF? And I'm glad the courts have so far agreed that CDF is illegal. And however much they are trying to fight it, if you look at the ruling that was made this week, it's still confirmed. And we thank people like Wakili Lempa, Soyinka. These guys have really fought that bill, and they are winning. The moment we are going to differentiate, remove the CDF from the members of parliament, we'll have quality people in that parliament. But as long as we are having members of parliament managing CDF, we'll still have idiots in that parliament. If you look at our parliament, 70% of them don't know their roles. And most of them will not go to that parliament without CDF.
I'll invite Lempa for this show one of these fine
He's
days.
one great man. There's one thing that I normally agree with him. If he chooses to fight for something, and this war with CDF is winning, yeah, he's a great man.
Lempa is a civil rights advocate. All right, is not your usual advocate who aligns by party policies. He's somebody who stands with the people. So that is the reason why he stands out from other lawyers. You've articulated things very well, and it's like you've been reading from my script all along. This is something that I've been telling you from time immemorial, that members of parliament should not be judged by CDF. CDF is illegal, but despite it being pronounced illegal in court, they still receive it. You see the kind of impunity that we have in this country. Despite the CDF being illegal, they still get the CDF. And there is the president of the Republic of Kenya has got no authority or cannot even tell the courts, this law should be enforced and the members of parliament should be whipped not to receive that money. He is also depending on those MPs to deliver the votes. So he's in a tight spot. It is Raila Odinga who has been coming up saying, oh, this CDF is illegal. We want to take it to the government.
Raila Odinga, I think, is just standing and saying that it is illegal because he knows he has got nothing to lose politically.
Yeah.
Cannot speak of CDF because the moment he touches on CDF, then the MPs will tell him one term.
But again, But again, look at the way he's not even talking about it passionately. It's not something that he really wants to happen. If it is something that he really cares about, then he should have called his MPs and told them, this is money that you're receiving. Let it go back to the counties so the governors can implement. The only problem I have with that is because we don't have checks and balances in our counties. So the moment if William Ruto is giving...
Mazalendo, the buck starts with the voters, stops with the voters. Do you know why our counties get... actually, there's a lot of mismanagement in the counties compared to the national government, because the primary people who are supposed to oversight the county governments are the members of parliament. But during elections, when people look at the criteria of electing these people left the MCA post to the most foolish in the society. And if today you go with your law degree and you say you want to contest for MCA, they'll tell you, enda utafute MP. So they don't know that they elect people who have never even counted millions. Somebody who dropped out of school in year 7 when they were adding up to maybe 1 million. So you want this person to go and oversight over billions in the county. Then when they get smart governors, like people like James Orengo, they get smart governors. Actually, the governor will have their own way, because the governor already know that the people who are oversighting me are academically lame. The people who are oversighting me doesn't have any knowledge as far as the finances and the books are concerned. So the governor will now have an advantage through his CES, which he appoints people who are loyal to him. There's no way a CES will question the government, the governor, you are appointing authority. The people who are supposed to question them are in the county assembly. In Kisumu, you get somebody called Aduinyang, who is elected because of broad chest. If you go to places like Koma Bay or places like Asembo, you get musicians who are singing Ohangala, and the ones you elect to go there, and you want them. Really, that is the problem that we have.
Aduinyang wants to be the MP, and
he
he'll get
to be the MP, but
for
he will manage, because the MP in Kisumu East is just an Indian version of Aduinyang.
It's an Indian version of Aduinyang. So Aduinyang will definitely get the MPs. But
he will definitely get. These are equals. They are equals in stupidity.
Do you think that somebody like Aduinyang can even,
he can't even draft a bill to bring in parliament? He is the one, like the one Kisumu Central had one called Dugi Dugi, who was elected because of undressing himself and chaining himself and saying that he's going to deal with Duale and help Baba up
Dugi
there.
Dugi, okay. Bring us to speed. Dugi Dugi is an MP or is an MCA, or who is he?
So actually, even look at those people who are elected in Nairobi County Assembly. For you to become an MC in Nairobi, you must be a known goon. Those goons that you are seeing in Ongwaro and all these estates are the ones people like.
There is one guy called Matakwe.
It's called Matakwe. Or you are either a goon. Is there anybody?
And we are about to see Gaucho as a senator.
And next you will see Gaucho also want to be elected an MP or an MC, and then get elected. So
this country is about, and then we'll have Nuru Okanga
becoming an MCA somewhere in Kakamega. Then you expect these people to go. And you expect Nuru Okanga now to go and oversight FCPA Baraza. So Baraza is somebody who has got some fine brains, and you are giving him idiots to go
and you are giving him an idiot who cannot count 1 up to 1,000.
Somebody who cannot count, cannot even write 1,000 in words, and you want them now, the MCs, they are now discussing the county budget, they are now allocating money. You see, that is the mistake that voters do. You elect people who are not capable, then you expect them to deliver. That is the problem we are having. Look at the counties that are poorly mismanaged, the ones from the northeastern. They get herdsmen because their clans are having majority. So you'll find that a governor resides in Karen, and all the allocations, Turkana and these countries in northeastern, like Garissa, gets a lot of money, including the equalization funds, but there's nothing to be shown back in their village, because the people who are in the county assemblies cannot even read a simple oath of office, and you expect these people to perform. It cannot happen.
So what are we going to do as Kenyans?
What we are supposed to do is to do the civic education.
You need to give us
the civic education.
What is the solution? Because you are the same person who is talking about party loyalty.
Let me tell you what we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to do civic education. And we are not going to do a civic education of singing one term. And that is what you see people like Morara running up after voting Ruto and supporting Ruto. He now wants to redeem himself by telling us one term. I don't know what diaries. So that is not civic education. Civic education is sitting people and telling them their rights and telling them the importance of electing quality leaders. Civic education is not going there to tell people one term, to tell people all those kind of, you see, this one has been stolen. We know this money has been stolen. We don't need somebody to remind us that billions have been stolen. So these people you see telling you they're giving civic education, they are not doing anything, actually. They're not doing anything. They're trying to redeem themselves. They're not giving any solution. So if that is why I normally tell people I'll comfortably or blindly vote William Ruto in 2027, not because he's the best, and because the options that are there is better than those options. I'll blindly vote him, actually, if the trend continues. I don't see anybody who can be a replacement of William Ruto. Gachagua is not a replacement of William Ruto. The Matiangis are saying he's not a replacement.
I think
Kalonzo is not a replacement.
One thing, why are people misguided that Gachagua is running for president? I've not heard him running.
He might, he's not running, but he is running through his cronies. He'll appoint somebody to run on his behalf. The same way you people told us The same way you told us Uhuru appointed Raila to run on his behalf.
No. Kalonzo has been running for president forever, for time immemorial.
Kalonzo ran for the first time in 2007, and he is the first person who
so
betrayed
why are you
people.
saying he will be
He's
running
not
on
been
behalf
running.
of
He's been
Gachagua?
threatening to be running. He's not been running. When was he on the ballot apart from the
So
2007?
when Raila Amolo Odinga is pushing William Ruto, is Raila Amolo a co-president to William Ruto?
Raila is not anywhere. Raila is just giving what is called legitimacy and the goodwill through the support that he enjoys actually. But legally or under the structures of the leadership, he is not anywhere.
You have really diverted from Rigiji and into the ODM politics, and that is why most of the time I don't like inviting you to my show, because you will start. You are a typical sycophant who will divert this discussion to what we didn't really come here to discuss. But anyway, I think we have done 1 hour of what you wanted to pass across. You really done good to your to your party and your party leader. That was a good show, and I hope to see you next time. One parting shot to my viewers.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mzalendo, actually, for your show. Despite the fact that you're saying we veered off what we want to discuss, I am also glad that actually you wanted us to sell the narrative of Rigathi, and I'm not ready to sell that narrative. We should not give Rigathi actually some airtime so that he can be able maybe to influence the minds of Kenyans who are focused right now. As a country, we need to get focused with the work so that when it reaches 2027, we will hold William Ruto accountable based on what he promised versus what he delivered. So we need to stop all this kind of noise and just allow him ample time to deliver. So 2027, we'll ask him, you said you're going to do this. Did you manage to do it? Then from that, we'll be able to make an informed decision. But if we start throwing stones at him, we are distracting him actually, and he will have the guts to come and tell us that, you see, you people, you gave me 5 years, but again, you interrupted me within the 5 years. I could not be able to do anything. So now I have the right to ask you for another 5 years so that you give me humble time to deliver. So, and to the Kenyan outside there, let us not maybe get divided on the tribal lines and all these kind of divisions and incitement from the politicians. Let us focus, judge every politician with what they do, and when it comes the right time to vote, of course, we'll engage our brains, weigh the options that are there, and see if the option that we are going to make is the better option. Let us not just vote blindly, as people have been voting to punish others, or just voting to show that, okay, we have numbers, because huwezi fanya bila Mount Kenya. So that is the only thing I can say for now. Otherwise, I wish those ones who've gone to church today a happy Sunday and a blessed day ahead. And for you people who are in your evening and afternoon, good night.
All right, guys, thank you very much for staying tuned. And this is Mzalendo. And I leave you with one question in defending your tribe. Are you failing your country? Good night, Kenya. Good night, Africa. And see you later on as we push this agenda. Leo was thinking that we are pushing an agenda for one particular candidate. This is a show where we don't represent any side. When you come here, you give you a platform, you air your views freely without being coerced by anybody or without being intimidated. So feel free, step up here, tell us about your candidate, tell us about your vision. But the most important thing is that we want unity for our country, and most importantly, we love Kenya. Otherwise, asanteni sana na mubarikiwe na muwe na siku njema.
Tuambie Ruto akiwa Nairobi, yote yawezekana bila Ruto. Yote yawezekana.